What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good Wolf Project. I'm your host, Jerry Scarlato, and today I want to talk to you about confidence. If you're watching this and you notice that I'm red-faced and a little sweaty and greasy looking, it's because I just got back from a walk. So every day at lunch, I go walk down to the park down the road. It's a 0.6-mile walk, and then the park has a bunch of trails and whatnot. So I'll walk to the park, eat lunch, and by eat lunch I mean I'll drink the shake that I have and have a handful of macadamia nuts, 10 macadamia nuts to be precise, and then I'll go for a walk on the trails, which adds up to another mile, and then I walk back. So the whole thing together ends up being 2 miles. It's 0.6 miles down. I walk down the trail for 0.4 miles, walk back for 0.4 miles, and then walk 0.6 miles back. So it ends up being about a 2-mile walk. And today it happens to be about 95 degrees or so with a little bit of humidity. So here I am getting back and immediately getting into recording because I have also already recorded this session today and the recording decided not to cooperate. So here I am again recording. By the way, if you have not watched my episode on frustration tolerance, I highly suggest that you go back and watch that, because one of the things that kills so many people is the inability to deal with frustrations. Most people struggle to deal with even just small frustrations, people cutting them off in traffic. Driving in general is a struggle for many people. You know, things that work, small things that work that can add up, and phone issues and computer issues and so on and so forth. And it's not to say that I don't get frustrated. By all means, when I recognize that the recording didn't take, or the file wasn't going to work, I wasn't happy with it. Nonetheless, had to get over it and had to do something about it. So I wasn't going to immediately record again because, of course, my mind was not in the state that it needed to be. So went ahead and grabbed lunch, went for a walk, cleared my mind, and here I am again delivering, which is what I do every Tuesday. You don't get this until Friday, but I record it on Tuesday. Nonetheless, I suggest you go back and watch the episode on frustration tolerance so that you can also increase your frustration tolerance so that you can push through the small stuff. And it's worth remembering that it is all small stuff. So why confidence? Why are we talking about confidence today? Of course, that's something that I talk about pretty regularly on this podcast because, well, confidence is what holds a lot of people back. It's mostly because we think that confidence is one thing or that it comes from one thing, when in reality, it's built in a completely different way. Before we get into that, though, I'll strongly encourage you to pause and take 10 seconds to go rate or review the podcast. Or if you're on YouTube, you don't even have to go anywhere. You can just hit subscribe and help us grow our channel, help us grow this podcast. Because remember, the more people that review the podcast, or the more subscribers we have, the more people will see the message, and therefore the more people you are helping directly by subscribing or reviewing. So thank you guys so much for doing that. Also, I'll take a second to thank you directly for listening to this or watching this, because I know there could literally be millions of things that you could be doing. We are all quite literally saying no to a million things to do the one thing that we're doing in the moment. So thank you for taking the time to listen or watch this, even if you're doing another thing along with this, driving or doing some sort of monotonous task. Thank you for taking the time to listen, because again, without you guys out there listening, following through, continuing to show up, this doesn't mean anything. I can sit here and talk at this microphone all day long, and sometimes it feels like that's what I'm doing, but I can sit here and talk at this microphone all day long and just look at this camera. But, at the end of the day, if you guys aren't here and you guys aren't listening, then it doesn't, you guys pull me along. So I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you listening. Back to confidence. So the reason that this episode was brought to mind is because I had a recent conversation with Mark Pesant. If you didn't see that podcast, you should go back and listen to that. That was from last week. But Mark talked specifically about a point in his life when he had gone from being uber healthy to being very unhealthy and then back to focusing on his health and what that transition looked like. He was a D1 athlete. So basically, his health was structured around performance. And once that was gone, once sports was gone, and once coaches quit basically telling him what to do, he quit following through on his health. Everything went to the wayside, and he went straight into career and building a family and not at all paying attention to his health and fitness. That's a normal story for many Americans, by the way. Not that many Americans play D1 sports, but many Americans, once high school or college kind of goes by the wayside, sports or a reason to be active, that goes by the wayside. Health and fitness gets shoved to the side and it gets saved for another day. At any rate, 10 years later, so Mark fell off the wagon, if you will, when he was 21. About 9 years later, when he was 30 or 31, he recognized that he needed to do something because he was something like 80 pounds heavier than he was when he got out of college. He said he was, coaching basketball at the time, and he was trying to go up and down the court with the kids and breathing heavy, and his knees hurt and his ankles hurt. And he's only 30 years old, and he's like, man, what the hell am I doing with myself? Why do I feel like this? So he decided to make a change. And during that, one of the reasons he did that was because he wanted, or he believed that also, once he got to a point where he felt healthy about himself, where he looked at himself in the mirror and he felt like it was good, he felt like his body looked good, got himself a six-pack back, lost the weight he wanted to lose, that suddenly he would have this confidence. Suddenly, all these thoughts and demons that were, rummaging around in his head, those would all go away. Because ironically, Mark had been working on his mental development, over the last 10 years. So he was doing the work there, but he still was having some struggles. And he thought that maybe if he got his health under control, lost some weight, started feeling better about his body, and started gaining more energy, that he would then all of a sudden have the rest of that go away. Suddenly his brain would be washed of all of his concerns and worries about himself, and he would have, be full of confidence. Now, of course, that didn't happen. So if you didn't watch the episode, sorry to break the, punchline for you, but that didn't happen because that is what most people think. Most people think that once they reach a level of success, and success can mean anything for anybody, losing a certain amount of weight, getting a certain looking body, making a certain amount in your career, reaching a certain level in management, building the business to a certain amount of revenue, whatever the success means to you, what many people believe is that once they reach that, then they will believe in themselves. Then they will have confidence. Then all their worries and concerns and everything else, all of that will go away. All their self-doubt will all go away. All their anxiety about what happens in life, all of that will also go away. They think that suddenly this thing will the mind will just click, and now that I've made it, everything's fine. But as we've seen with Mark's anecdote, that's not the case. And Mark is not, he's one person, one story, one anecdote, but he is one of many, many millions of anecdotes. Now, most people will recognize sooner than later that that's not the case and stop. They actually stop going for the goal because not that they don't recognize that the goal isn't going to give them the confidence they want. What they do is realize that the goal is going to take longer to achieve than what it is. And the pain in having to go through all that effort to get there versus the reward isn't greater. The reward is not great enough for them to want to get there. So they just decide to stay the same instead of actually work to get the reward that they're after. whether or not it's actually going to improve their self-confidence and get rid of all of their problems and issues, that just goes by the wayside at that point, because they've decided to move on. They've decided to quit, shove their goal aside, and save it for another day. I'll get that tomorrow. I'll get to that tomorrow, which of course tomorrow never shows up. So that's the crux of the issue, is that people think that it is in achieving a goal that they become a person. It is in reaching a milestone that suddenly you are a different person. Suddenly you have all this confidence and you exude all this, self-esteem, and you have this self-respect for yourself, and you believe in yourself and what you can do and what you can achieve. Part of the reason we think that also is because we look at other people have achieved things and they look externally as if they have that. They have this thing that you want. The way they carry themselves, the way they talk, the way they look, the way they converse back and forth. And you want that, but you think that just came because they achieved the thing that they got. A rich person, well, they just walk around like their shit don't stink because they're rich and they're all successful and whatnot. Well, maybe, but it's not because like they achieved the goal and so like all of a sudden they believe in themselves, which, by the way, the perception that most rich people walk around like their shit don't stink, it's not that. It's just that they actually believe in themselves, and most people don't. And most people don't like what they aren't able to achieve themselves. That's the issue. At any rate, so we want to be able to close the gap and understand that it's not achieving the thing, even though we look at other people and we think that since they look a certain way and they've achieved the thing, we look at them and we're like, oh, well, if I get there, then I'll be able to have that too. If you actually ask them how the process went, I'm sure they would tell you it was much different than, yeah, I showed up and then bam, I was there. Everything was great. All of a sudden, all my worries went away. So that's the change that we want to make. Before I carry forward, I'm going to go ahead and take myself a quick drink. After a 2-mile walk in 95-degree weather with a bit of humidity, I am a little parched. Cheers. Just plain water in here. At any rate, excuse me. So what then are we supposed to focus on? If the goal isn't the thing, then what are we supposed to focus on? Now, this isn't to say that you shouldn't have a goal. I'll start by saying that. Human beings are teleological beings, meaning we have to move, we have to go after something. We have to have some point, something that we're going after. Otherwise, we're just waiting along and, well, if you look at most humanity, that's what we end up being. Scrolling on Facebook, scrolling on social media, binge watching Netflix. If we don't have something we're shooting for, we end up like that. If you've ever seen the movie Wall-E, that's what we kind of end up like if we don't have something to shoot for, if we don't have an end point to shoot for. Now, end doesn't mean end, but if we don't have something that we're going after. So yes, you should have a goal and you should know what it is and you should be precise about it so that your mind can start to conjure up ideas and conjure up a path on how to get there. However, once you have the goal is just your guiding light. It's your star, it's your purpose. It's the thing that you're going after, and it's your regulator, if you will. If you get off course and you're like, oh, well, I'm off course, I need to be moving in this direction, then you know you need to change so that you can correct course and move back towards your goal. That's all it ends up being once you have it. So yes, you should have it. Yes, you should focus on it. But no, you should not believe that once you suddenly achieve that thing, that all of a sudden you're going to be a different person. It is once I get $1 million that all of my worries will go away and I will believe in myself and I will have all this confidence. Not the case. What we need to do is focus on building ourselves daily so that we become the kind of person that can achieve that goal regularly and effectively. regularly and effectively. We need to focus on building ourselves daily, building our confidence, building our belief in ourselves, following through daily, so that we can achieve the goal we're after regularly and effectively. That is the goal. That is the ultimate goal. Because if we can only achieve our goal once and then we backslide, we've done nothing different. We may have just lucked out, pushed a few buttons correctly in the right order, and got there. And then we'll backslide. This is exactly why so many people lose weight and then put it all back on plus some. Because they just happen to push the buttons in the right order, get to the weight loss, but what they didn't do was change who they are. They didn't build themselves into a different person. That is so important. Who you are today cannot achieve what you want to do tomorrow. You may get lucky and hit it, but that doesn't mean that you can do it regularly and effectively. So if we want to do things regularly, effectively, we want to continue to grow, we want to continue to prosper, we want to continue to move to the next thing, whatever that means, we have to be somebody different. We have to grow into somebody different, which means we have to switch our mindset from a strictly goal-oriented focus, strictly, not that we shouldn't focus on it, but from a strictly goal-oriented focus to, now that I have my goal, I'm going to place that there. I'm going to come back and check on it every once in a while, but I'm going to bring my attention to today. I'm going to bring my attention to the present. And the process with which you will do that, I call the 1% process. 1% process. Now, if you don't know what getting 1% better every day is, I suggest that you go back to previous episode. It's probably a month old. The importance of getting 1% better every day, I believe, is the name of the episode. So you can go back and listen to that to understand the importance of shooting to get 1% better. But the 1% process allows you to do what you say you're going to do, build yourself into a person to do it, and to do that regularly and effectively. So here's what the process looks like. 3 steps. Step 1, execute. Step 2, emphasize. Step 3, evaluate. Execute, emphasize, evaluate. So before I tell you what that is and what that means, I'm going to take another drink. Cheers to you. Execute, emphasize, evaluate. Let's break them down real quick. This is something that you can implement today if you want to. You can literally implement this today. Execute. What are you executing? You're going to choose 3 to 5 tasks that you will execute today. Those 3 to 5 tasks are tasks that you believe are the most effective tasks to move you towards your goal today. Okay? Today, not tomorrow, not the next day, not next week. You're not going, well, I don't know if this is going to be what I need to do tomorrow or next. It's not. What are you going to do today? 3 to 5 things you're going to do today that are most effective thing to get you to your goal. 3 to 5. That's what we're executing. So notice that's not one thing, and notice that's not 10 things. One thing is too few. Now, of course, there are caveats here. If you're writing a book, for instance, and your task is to write 10,000 words of your book, that's a big task. So maybe you have one thing to do, but even still, that's unlikely. You might want to do 2 or 3 things. But on average, you want to have at least 3 and no more than 5. Typically, if you do more than 5, what you're doing is kind of overdoing yourself. And if you do that too often, then yes, you will potentially crash and burn. So you can go over the 5 sometimes, go more than 5 sometimes, but you don't want to do that regularly. So that's why 3 to 5 tasks is a good place to start. So we're executing 3 to 5 tasks. 1, got it. 2, emphasize. Every time you complete a task, you're going to scratch it out. And while you do that, you're going to emphasize while you scratch out literally with the emphasis of your hand, and emphasize in your head that you're the type of person that follows through with what you say. So that might look like you have your list of things that you've written out for today, your 3 tasks, you finish one off, and maybe you want to do check marks, maybe you want to X it out, maybe you want to scratch it out. I'm a scratcher, so I'll start and I'll scratch it out with emphasis, quick, swift hand, and then tell myself, that's like me. I follow through with what I say. Bam. I do that. Because what you're trying to do is become the kind of person that follows through with what you say. And you're emphasizing it because human beings are also emotional beings. You are who you are today because your emotions have built you into it. Or because you've had emotional experiences in the past that have created you into what you are today. So what we're trying to do is create our own emotion with the emphasis, literally with the quickness of your hand and the swiftness of your hand, and then the reminder in your head that you're the type of person. We're trying to create our own emotion to get us to remember that that's who we are and to get us to move into a different person. For instance, right now, as I'm doing this, I'm literally ramping up my intensity because I've already recorded this fucking episode once today. I've already recorded this damn thing once today. And while I was certainly frustrated with it earlier, I'm the type of person that does things when I say I'm going to do them. And today, I'm going to record a solo episode. So here I am reminding myself that I'm the type of person that will do what I say I'm going to do. If you can hear the emphasis in my voice, that is on purpose. Okay, so we are emphasizing our tasks as we finish them. Scratch them off. Remind yourself that that's who you are so that you start to follow through, so that you become the person who follows through. Okay, last thing is evaluate. So once we're done, we've executed our task, we've emphasized them as we finish them. The last thing we're going to do is evaluate our day. This is the last 10 to 15 minutes of your day. And this is important because this is where the 1% comes in. Getting 1% better, right here. Number one, 3 questions you want to ask yourself at the end of the day. Number 1, what went well? Number 2, what needs work? Number 3, what do I need to do tomorrow? What went well? What needs work? What do I need to do tomorrow? So the first one, you reflect back on your day, on your tasks, on how you executed them, and you ask yourself what went well. If you're in sales, for instance, and you changed your script a little bit, or you changed your delivery, or you changed your demeanor, and people responded well to it, then mark that down. I changed my delivery, here's what I did, and that went well. That way, you know to do more of that. Or maybe you did something completely on accident, and suddenly something was much better, much easier. Write that down, that way you can do more of it. Number 2, what needs work? Not what went wrong, what needs work. How you phrase this is important. Because if you're thinking about what went wrong, what you will do is tell yourself that you did things wrong, that you're a dumb person, that you can't do it, or whatever you're going to tell yourself that is going to be reinforcing the old you, the previous you. That's what you're doing when you ask yourself what went wrong. What needs work simply is what needs to be improved. That's all. It is a non-judgmental question about what we can improve. So, what needs work? We look back at our tasks, we look back at our day, we look back at how we executed it, and we go, oh, okay, well, I had these few phone calls, and I did things a little differently here, and people didn't respond well, so that needs work. That right there, that area of execution. Or, I was doing this paperwork at this one time, and I took a time to step away, and I messed on my phone for a little bit, and I got back and I messed up the paperwork. So next time I need to make sure I just finish the paperwork instead of getting distracted and messing with my phone. Good. That needs work. So what you're doing is just taking a couple minutes to think about things that can be improved. So now we have what went well so that we can continue to do more of that. What needs work so that we can improve on those things tomorrow. And then finally, what do I need to do tomorrow? This is your 3 to 5 tasks that you're going to complete tomorrow. Part of that could be off of your what went well list. If you had some things that went well and you want to keep doing those things, put that as your task. If you had some things that need work and you want to put those as tasks tomorrow, you can do that. Or if you have a new project that you're starting, or you have something else that you need to add, or you have an appointment that you need to get ready for, whatever, you're making your list of 3 to 5 tasks that you're going to do tomorrow. That way, when tomorrow comes, you just need to show up and get to work. This is Time Management 101 right here. This is one of the basics of time management and why some people seem to get so much shit done and other people seem to not get anything done. Because some people sit around for the first half of their day and go, what should I do today? Or what order should I do it in? Or I forgot about this thing or that thing. Instead of at the end of their day, make their list of things they need to do. And then tomorrow when they show up, they just need to do it. It doesn't mean that other things aren't going to pop up, which then you write those things down and you can get to them. But you've made your list of things you need to do. And if you said that they were important last night, then likely in the morning, they're going to be important still. Okay? That is the 1% process. And if you do that, and you do it regularly, and you do it effectively, you will start to see a change in yourself. You will start to see a change in your process. You will start to see a change in your progress. You will start to see a change in your demeanor. You will start to see a change in who you are and what you believe you're capable of. You will start to see changes in all that. That's not to say that you still won't have to overcome some self-sabotaging behaviors and thoughts and beliefs, that you're still not going to have things creep up. Today, another example, when I recorded that thing this morning and it didn't do what it was supposed to do, my mind starts to go, is this, okay, here we go. Is this something I really want to screw with? And it started playing tricks on me. Is this something I want to screw with? Is this something I want to do? Blah, blah, blah. But wait, what am I talking about? I have made the plan. I have what I have in mind. I have my goal in mind. I know where I'm going. It was a good idea then, so it is still a good idea. And just because my mind's trying to play tricks on me doesn't mean it's a fucking fact. It just means my mind is trying to trick me. That's all. That's it. So you will still have that, which you will have to recognize and you will have to attack whenever it shows up. But the 1% process, if you execute it regularly and effectively, you will become a different person and you will start to see your goals come to fruition. Now, the cool thing is, I'll have something for you soon that will literally walk you through this on a daily basis. I'm not going to tell you what that looks like yet, but I do want to tease you a little bit. So that will be coming. It's actually going to be longer than just a 1% process kind of thing. It's a 13-week how to regularly achieve your goals in 13 weeks kind of idea. But I've already said too much. And my rule is if I tell you something that I'm not supposed to tell you, then I need to kill you. So I'm going to go ahead and, that would be challenging to do considering there's a lot of people that listen to this and I don't want to have to do that to everybody. So at any rate, before I go ahead and get myself in trouble and therefore get you in trouble, I'm going to quit talking about that. But there's something coming. I'm excited about it. I'm especially excited about it because it's been a project and I'll be glad to have it done. At any rate, that's it. you have the process, you can go out and knock it out, you can get it done, and you can become a different person along the way. So go out and do it, step into growth.